What's going on, Zer0 Division Members and Riku here, and welcome to my review for Volume 28 of Berserk. Not a whole lot happened in this, but at the same time, it feels like a lot did happen. And the first thing I want to talk about is Schierke and Guts on the beach. They couldn't sleep. They have a talk together, and it's the first time we truly see these two alone. And it feels like Schierke finally has another adult that she can confide in. She was able to cry and hug on the Guts, and I really enjoyed that. I feel like she's finding a place in her group. In this new group. But then again, at the end of the volume, it feels like she doesn't belong as well. She kind of feels overwhelmed while she's in the port city of Vritanis, I guess you could say. Basically Farnice and Serpico's home. But I did enjoy that whole conversation between her and Guts. And basically saying that, when you're set in your ways, you seem older than you are. And then later on, she says the same thing to Guts after she rescues him from the armor fully taking him over and actually him going after his comrades, which I'll talk about that in a moment. But they actually end up talking to the Skull Knight, and the Skull Knight admits that he wore the armor at one point, and that this armor is going to make you, is going to take a lot of things away from you. It's going to try to take a lot of things away from you. Your sight, all colors are going to fade from your eye, sensations on your fingertips, etc., etc. And I just like the whole conversation because it's like a forewarning to Guts to not underestimate this armor. And when he actually does wear the armor again, when the Kushan's like crocodile like demons or whatever show up, the Pishkashka, I think they're called, he ends up losing himself, and he ends up seeing his allies as enemies because he can no longer see colors. He just sees like silhouettes, and he's just murdering everything. And there's also an instance where that happens where he's afraid of the ocean, and I kind of feel like the ocean is symbolic to the ethereal world. It's just one big ocean. Maybe Guts feels like he's afraid of drowning like you would do so in the ocean. He's afraid of drowning into that ethereal world and being taken over by, the beast of darkness, taking over his ego. We've seen it also happen with Griffith when he got taken over and got transformed into Femto. His ego got corrupted. He was kind of like drowning into the ethereal world as well. So the ocean to me is pretty much symbolic to the ethereal world. And it was interesting to see him basically say he was scared of the ocean, because technically he's saying he's scared of sinking into the ethereal world and losing himself. And he almost did so, but luckily Schierke was able to pull him back before he attacked his comrades. Now, there was something else in that instance that showed itself. It looked like a elf kind of, but he doesn't know what it was. I wonder who it was that basically stopped him before Schierke got to him. We know that before Puck said the Skull Knight seemed like he felt like an elf. Could that have some relation to what that thing was that stopped Guts before Schierke could stop him? Remember that there was like a little silhouette of like a bright fairy looking thing. I wonder who that is. Maybe that's the Elf King that they mentioned in this volume. I don't know. But going on from that, I want to talk about the Moonlight Child. The Moonlight Boy, basically, which Casca finds on the beach. And immediately, I knew this was their demon child. This was Guts and Casca's child that was tainted by evil because Griffith raped Casca during the eclipse. But it begs the question, why is he showing himself in this form when the last time we seen him, he looked like a fetus? And how is he showing himself in this form when we know he was used as a catalyst for the reincarnation of Griffith, or Femto, into the physical world? So how is he showing himself to Casca at this moment? I have a theory on this. My theory is, and I believe this is out there on the internet as well, that during a full moon, the Casca and Guts' child can take control of Griffith's physical body and transform himself into the form that we've seen in this volume. Now, I say that because we know that there's two souls inhabiting this physical body. We've seen at the hilltop of swords, or the graves and everything, when Griffith went there, Griffith rescued Casca. And that was because his emotions are supposed to be frozen, represented by the last tear being frozen during the eclipse when he got reincarnated. But he says that it's possible that this demon child influenced him and made him protect Casca. So we know there's two souls inhabiting this body. So why isn't it possible for this soul of the demon child to take control of the body and transform itself into the form that we've seen in the volume? Now, my theory is this happens during a full moon simply because what is an eclipse? An eclipse is when the moon puts itself between the earth and the sun, making the lunar eclipse, happen. Well, when did he get reincarnated? During the eclipse. when did he get his physical body back? During the mock eclipse. So it all kind of goes hand in hand, and that's my theory on that. Another theory is Guts felt his brand kind of like vibrate, and he felt like a tingle, looked up at the hill, and there was nobody there. Is it possible that it was Zod? And my theory on that is, if the Moonlight Boy is Griffith, then obviously Zod would be nearby, either spying on the group. He could be spying on the group, but if the Moonlight Boy is Griffith, he's obviously there keeping tabs on the Moonlight Boy while the Moonlight Boy has control of the body, making sure nothing happens to the Moonlight Boy, because if something happens to him and he dies, Griffith technically dies as well. So that's why Zod would be nearby. And it kind of looked like there was a silhouette of Zod. If you look very closely, it looked like his ear or his horn or something. And I actually went online and I looked up and I looked at this panel, and somebody actually put the panels side by side of Zod at one point, and that panel with like nobody standing up there, and it sort of looks like Zod a little bit, like if he was hiding behind the hill or whatever. So my theory is that Zod was nearby, and it only fortifies my theory on that the Moonlight Boy is Griffith. Now this opens up a lot of speculation as to what's going to happen, because we learned in this volume that it's possible that Casca might get her memories back when she goes to Elfhelm. Simply because the king there might be able to regain her memories, but obviously Skull Knight says, well, this might not be what she wants. The same thing, the thing you want, Guts, might not be what she wants. Why would she want to regain her memories of herself being raped, of those horrible moments in the eclipse? This might not be what Casca wants. She subconsciously regressed her memory and whatnot because she didn't want to live with that thought in her mind. So regaining her thoughts might not be the same, and her memory might not be the same thing that she wants as, Guts wants it, but she might not want it. So I thought that was interesting as well. But this leads to speculation as to if Casca regains her memory and she learns that the Moonlight Boy, she'll remember seeing the Moonlight Boy, she might realize that her demon child's inside Griffith, and instead of killing Griffith, she'll want to somehow rescue her child from Griffith's, reincarnated body, and she'll want her child back. I could see something like that happen, and it kind of sets up a whole unique situation because Guts wants to kill Griffith. Guts wants that revenge, so his goal would counteract Casca's goal if she regains her memory. But we're talking about like later in the series, once Casca regains her memory and everything. But it just goes hand in hand with my theory that the Moonlight Boy is Griffith. So it's very interesting to see. And then there's also speculation that maybe the boy doesn't have control of his body. Maybe it's Griffith subconsciously changing into the Moonlight Child or something along those lines. But I don't really agree with that because there's a scene in the cabin where one of those crocodile things come, the Kushan was controlling, and the Moonlight Boy looked at it, and immediately it ran away. That tells me, just like before, we've seen him do this to other, like, wraiths and whatnot, and he protected his mother in the past, just like he's protecting his mother now. So I feel like the Moonlight Boy, the demon child of Casca and Guts, is in full control of this physical body. That's just my theory. I don't think it's Griffith controlling it or anything like that. I think it happens when there's a full moon, and I have a feeling we'll see another full moon later on in the series, and we'll see the demon child there. This also concretes my theory when he disappears and we see him standing up on the hilltop. The same hilltop that apparently somebody was standing on before when Guts felt his brand tingle, aka Zod being up there. So I just have a feeling that the Moonlight Boy definitely is Griffith. That's just my theory. It's a lot of people's theories, and it makes a lot of sense. What are your thoughts on that, guys? Do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that? Do you agree with my speculation and predictions that it could possibly cause Casca's goal to counteract with Guts once she gains her memory back, wanting to save her child? And do you think she could convince Guts to go along with her goal if we ever do reach that point? I mean, that's a lot of speculation, so I don't want to go on more about that. Finally, we get to see the group get to Vritanis, I guess you could call it, and we see all these armies from around the world, the country, the Tudors, which were once Midland's foes, etc., going to Vritanis because the Holy See is uniting them to fight against the Kushan, and it kind of brings up memories of Guts' past. It reminds him of his past during the Band of the Hawk when he was a mercenary. There was even a moment where Isidro and Serpico were talking about Griffith, and this brings up my question. Do they not know that he was part of the Band of the Hawk? whenever they talked about Griffith and the Band of the Hawk, it seems like his group didn't hear him talking to Grunbeld about it, things of that nature. So they even ask, Sidro even asks, what mercenary were you with, Guts? What mercenary group? And Guts is like, it was a long time ago. So they have no idea Guts was part of the Band of the Hawk. They don't know what their relationship with Griffith is, and Guts and Griffith's relationship. He's kind of keeping that from his new companions, and I do hope that comes to light at some point down the line. I want to see if he'll actually tell them everything that happened. That'd be very interesting, because if he actually does tell them everything that happened, he's finally fully confiding in his new companions. But I just like the whole scenario where Guts kind of felt like, back at home, the battlefield's his home. He felt like, it just like was kind of like nostalgic to him, kind of. But it also probably brought up bad memories because of everything that happened in the eclipse. We see Serpico go off about everybody's, flags and all that. It was just very interesting. But at the same time, we see Schierke run away. And she doesn't want to be in the city. She doesn't like, all these humans there. She doesn't feel any flow of ode because it's just stone buildings everywhere. And we see the individual that Griffith brought into his group way back in, I think, whatever volume it was, 22 or whatever. He's looking for a witch. And then we see Sonia, who is a medium apparently. She's looking for a witch as well. And she finds Schierke. And they have a whole discussion, a conversation about ducklings and kites and owls and all that. And it's basically Sonia's story where she was a slave to the Kushan. Griffith rescued her. He's the hawk. She's a kite. She was able to fly with him even though she's a kite. She felt at home. She found her people. She's jealous of Charlotte. Charlotte is the duckling princess. And now the ducklings want the princess to marry Griffith to have children so the ducklings feel closer to the hawk. I just like the symbolism that the whole story basically held within itself. I love that conversation between Sonia and Schierke. It just was very easy to read, but it was so symbolic of her story and what happened to her. And now she feels like Schierke is the same way. Schierke is an owl. She found, it kind of feels like Schierke found her group. She found people that actually she can relate with. Like, you could say that Guts and his group are ducklings, and she's an owl, and she fits with them. So Sonia says that her and Schierke can kind of be friends, and Schierke even says, I feel like I could be friends with her too. So now we see Sonia and Schierke sort of being friendly with each other, but they're on opposite sides of the fence. They just don't know it, because really Guts' companions don't know the full story between Guts and Griffith. They don't even, they don't know what Guts is really after. Farnese heard Guts mutters Griffith's name before, but they don't know the whole story. So, and plus, Schierke doesn't know that Sonia is part of the Band of the Hawk. So how is this going to play out? That's what I wonder. They're basically enemies, but they don't know it. That's how crazy and ironic this is. And we learn about pirates. Apparently there's going to be a pirate arc next where these pirates kidnap children and whatnot, and they sell them. And we see these pirates chasing after these children, and Schierke is the one that stops them, and she says, we're not going to let you do this, and Sonia's with her. And that's how the volume ends. But just a lot of stuff happened. And like I said, the conversation between Schierke and Sonia now being friends, it's very ironic because they're enemies and they don't even know it. Or rather, they're part of two groups that are enemies with each other, Guts and Griffith. Guts' group in the Band of the Hawk. Sonia is very interesting. She's apparently a medium, and she feels like she was right at home with Griffith. So I have a feeling she's going to play a huge role later on in the story. I don't know what that role is, but obviously she will play some kind of role. And it's obviously obvious that she's jealous of Charlotte, so I don't know if she'll try to kill Charlotte down the road. I don't know. Just a lot went down in this volume. But my two favorite parts of the volume were the whole Moonlight Child thing. I thought that was very interesting because it just brings up my whole theory and also a lot of speculation. And then I also liked the thing with Sonia and Schierke. I thought that was very interesting. But I guess a third thing I liked a lot was when Guts was fearing the ocean and he felt like he was drowning and the Beast of Darkness was taking over his ego. I just love that as well because the Skull Knight's forewarning basically came true. And even Guts said it. Everything he said happened. What am I going to do? You know what I mean? It's just like very interesting because now this armor is a double-edged sword. It's a power-up for him, but it causes a lot of problems. And even Serpico, there's a moment where Serpico looks back to when he was protecting the group from Guts because Guts was about to attack in the Berserker armor. and he kind of seems like he's like thinking. So I don't know what Serpico's up to as well. I guess he's worried about what might happen in the future. Just a lot of stuff happened in this volume, but it was a great volume. I really enjoyed it. And probably my favorite part is the Moonlight Child. It was just absolutely great. Seeing that again, seeing them sort of acting like a family, Casca and Guts and the Moonlight Child, it just was great. And it kind of leaves me with some shred of hope that maybe at the end of this series, they can gain their child back, defeating Griffith, defeating the God Hand, and actually be a family. It gives us some kind of hope for Guts, Casca, and the Moonlight Child. But I don't know if it's all going to play out that way. We know how Miura is. I just have a feeling Guts is not going to survive he's not going to make it to the end of the series. He's going to die somewhere along the lines. We already see him very ragged. He has scars on his face. He's just been through hell and back multiple times. Literally, he's already been to hell in the eclipse. Like that's pretty much hell to any human being. That was insane. So I can't see Guts surviving to the very end. I want it to happen. I want to see him and Casca be happy and have their child with them. It really warmed my heart seeing, you know, the demon child there, and the Moonlight Boy, Casca, and Guts. I felt like it was a family. And they even, like, his group even commented on it. It feels like a family, kind of. So I really hope someday that could happen. But let me know your thoughts on the volume, guys. Like the video if you feel I deserve it. Subscribe if you haven't done so. I'd greatly appreciate it. Volume 29 will be next Monday. We're getting closer to catching up, guys. And once I catch up, I will be doing the chapter reviews from online. I'll have to read it online. I'll do a chapter review a day or something like that. And then I'll do some discussion videos as well. The discussion videos will probably be live streams. That way we can discuss it while it's basically the live stream is going on, and I think that will allow us to interact as well, us Berserk fans and everything. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next video.